Coulrophobia, the fear of clowns. This image from 1928 is one of the earliest embodiments of the fear. It depicts Lon Chaney dressed up for the silent film Laugh, Clown, Laugh. Today, coulrophobia is characterized by an intense and irrational anxiety when encountering clowns or clown images. Causes could be negative childhood experiences, the unpredictable behavior or movements of clowns, the painted faces and acting which conceal or hide true emotion, distorted features, or the negative media attention in horror movies and true crime stories. 21 Ghosts. These shadowy images aren't just interesting pieces of street art. Love Parade, a German music festival known for its excited crowds, suffered a tragedy in 2010. The figures in this mural of the Karl-Lehrstrasse tunnel each represents one of the 21 young people who perished during a stampede at the popular music festival. At least 500 others were injured in the devastating tragedy. Pogo the Clown, or John Wayne Gacy, was known as the Killer Clown. In 1980, forensic artists were recruited to reconstruct the facial features of 9 unidentified victims so that photos could be released by the media in an attempt to identify them. Between 1972 and 1978, John Wayne Gacy ended the lives of at least 33 men in Cook County, Illinois. Depicted here is a funeral for some of those victims, where they may finally be laid to rest. The Lonely Hearts Killers. Between 1947 and 1949, a divorcee by the name of Martha Beck and her boyfriend Raymond Fernandez went on a deadly spree, ending the lives of as many as 20 women who they'd met through newspaper personal ads. After the couple were apprehended for the death of Delphine Downing and her 2-year-old daughter Renelle, the investigation took police to this basement in Queens, New York. In the basement, the body of another victim, Janet Fay, was found from beneath the floor. Despite claiming as many as 17 victims, they were only found guilty of Fay's murder. Both were sentenced to death by electrocution. This haunting image of convicted capital murderer Karla Faye Tucker illustrates why the public was divided over Texas's decision to execute her in 1998. After Tucker confessed to ending the lives of 2 people during a robbery with a pickaxe, she made a public conversion to Christianity and captivated many Americans with her charm and claims of having reformed. Karla had a troubled upbringing in her young teenage years, traveling with her rock groupie mother, and bands such as the Allman Brothers Band, the Marshall Tucker Band, and the Eagles. It would be 14 years spent in prison before she would be executed, where she would die at the age of 37. If you need a quick reminder about these eerie photos, in 1986, a routine safety test at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in what is now Ukraine went catastrophically wrong. One of the plant's 4 reactors overheated and exploded, triggering a massive fire and releasing radioactive material into the atmosphere. That radiation still lingers in the area to this day. In these images, you see inside what used to be a kindergarten within the Chernobyl exclusion zone. It's easy to understand why this place is considered one of the most haunted locations on Earth. Cave diving is often a dangerous pursuit. Many have perished, and signs like this are left in their place. What takes out experienced divers tends to be overconfidence or some sort of natural accident, such as a section of ceiling collapsing or the diver getting stuck in narrow spaces. Some places are just too risky for humans to explore. She's watching me. Why is this woman standing on the roof? Just staring? Is she a ghost? The Reddit user who posted this photo went to his friend who originally took the photo. His friend said that they found out who the girl was. She told him she had just gone up there to set an example for the young kids on their block, teaching risk-taking, resiliency, and community. What would you do if you moved into a new house and discovered that in the basement was a secret hatch that had been closed off? Would you go inside? This is what would happen to Brett Kelman. He posted the basement photo on Reddit where users encouraged him to get to the bottom at what's inside. Once he finally got the courage to investigate, he discovered it just led to the outside of the house. Later, Brett was contacted by the guy who built that hatch. Turns out years ago, the house was collapsed by a tornado, and was partially rebuilt. The previous owner used that as an opportunity to build an escape hatch so no one would be trapped inside in the future. Here, a Reddit user shared a discovery. Behind some shelves at work, he found a hole that leads to underground tunnels. Other users urged him to explore, but it was never clear if he ever did. Unfortunately, it remains unknown if anyone used it to sneak into the building or smuggle anything out. I am happy to present today's sponsor and partner, freakirl.com. Unleash your inner freak with these mix of dark and kawaii designs full of monsters and anime waifus. You can even pick up exclusive Dr. Gloom merch not available anywhere else. Support the channel by using the coupon code GLOOM13 at checkout to receive 13% off your entire order. Now let's get back to the video. Do you ever wonder who might be lurking around your home? Thanks to doorbell cameras, some people get the answers to this question. The Reddit user who posted this image describes getting multiple notifications that a visitor had approached his home, but every time he checked, he would see nothing there. Until finally, after many notifications later, he saw this man standing, watching. A man by the name of Mark Holtzman went to a Trailblazers game, but the day after the game said he found the tires of his car slashed with a note left on the windshield.
"You were so easy to find, Mark. You should drive more carefully."
The note triggered a flashback to the night before when Mark was driving on North Russell by the Moda Center in Portland, Oregon. He made a right turn to get into the parking garage, but on his way inside, he said he may have cut a bicyclist off. It's a busy intersection, filled with traffic on 2 and 4 wheels, a problematic area. The guy was very unhappy and went from 0 to ballistic in 2 seconds, yelling, screaming, shouting. Portland police said they're investigating the incident. Imagine you're walking through the woods on a quiet morning, then suddenly see what looks like a screaming red alien hand bursting out of an egg in the dirt. You've just met Clathris archeri, also known as devil's fingers or octopus stinkhorn, and it's considered one of the creepiest fungi on the planet. Originally from Australia and New Zealand, but has since invaded parts of Europe and North America. In World War I, soldiers in Europe thought it was some kind of alien invasion weapon when they first laid eyes on it. When it first grows, it looks like a slimy white egg, then hatches to unleash 4 to 8 long, red, finger-like tentacles. These tentacles are covered in dark, stinky goo that smells like rotting meat. Why? Because it wants to attract flies to spread its spores. It looks like an animatronic something out of the world of Five Nights at Freddy's. However, this character is known as Billy Bob Broccoli, which was the mascot of Showbiz Pizza Place. Billy Bob debuted as Billy Wilbur, a character in the Hard Luck Bears animatronic show. Billy Bob's first appearance at Showbiz Pizza Place was as a walk-around character at the first Showbiz Pizza location at Antioch Shopping Center in Kansas City, Missouri.
Old MacDonald had a farm. E-I-E-I-O.
This is Jeff Rader. In this picture, you see a young guy in a concert or party, standing still with a drink in his hand and a cigarette dangling from his fingers. In the background, there's a huge, raging fire burning everything around. This guy's demeanor seems oddly calm and nonchalant about what's happening around him. It was February 20th, 2003 in West Warwick, Rhode Island, at a popular nightclub called the Station Nightclub. That night was busy. 400 people attended the event, and a rock band named Great White was hosting. Great White asked special permission to use indoor fireworks, even though it was dangerous. When they started their performance, things went terribly wrong, catching the stage on fire. The fire quickly spread across the entire nightclub. The people inside tried desperately to escape, but many people didn't make it. 100 perished and 230 people got badly burned. Jeff stood very close to the stage, where the fire broke out, but for some reason wasn't fazed at all by the fire. He didn't try to escape. Instead, he just stood there, acting like it was normal. He helped his friends and a few people escape, but he never left the building himself. Darkness beneath the vulnerable young child. The chilling nature of this photo feeds into the fear of the unknown. Who knows what potential threats lurk in the waters below? The burning of Grenfell Tower. In 2017, a high-rise fire broke out in the 24-story Grenfell Tower block of flats in North Kensington, West London, England, burning for 60 hours. Residents still inside, surrounded by flames and smoke, were desperate to be rescued. Unfortunately, 70 people died at the scene, and 2 people later in a hospital. It was discovered that the fire was started by an electrical fault in a refrigerator on the 4th floor. This photo, named "The Struggling Girl," was captured by Kevin Carter in 1993 in Sudan. This was a time when a famine there was at its worst. Carter would be awarded the Pulitzer Prize for his photograph in 1994. However, it is reported that the circumstances of seeing the nightmare scenarios took such a mental toll on Carter that he died of depression a few months later. Discovered in 1976, the megamouth shark is an extremely rare species. Spending most of their time in the deep ocean, descending as deep as 15,000 feet below the surface, they occasionally surface often during the night. It has been said fewer than 100 have ever been seen. If there was ever extraterrestrial life on Earth, big fin squids would likely be it. A rarely seen cephalopod living deep in the ocean. Their arm's length can reach up to 8 meters or 26 feet, giving them the alternate name, long arm squid. Little is known about the feeding behavior of these squids. Scientists have speculated that the big fin squid feeds by dragging their arms and tentacles along the seafloor. The albino one-eyed shark. Cut from a shark mother's womb, this creature baffled fishermen. The baby shark's bizarre features resemble that of a cyclops. Reports say the shark likely had cyclopia, a birth deformity across species that can cause an embryo to form only one eye. It also had albinism, which means the shark produced low amounts of melanin responsible for creating pigment. If born, the baby shark would have been unlikely to have survived. This is a photograph of the original Mickey Mouse Club meeting in the 30s. It had nearly 1 million members by 1932. When the iconic Mickey Mouse was born, he was maybe not quite so lovable. Some even described his look as creepy or disturbing. It would take a few years before Mickey's look was locked down. These photos shown document Mickey's look when he made his first appearances. In his early years, he was impish and mischievous. Mickey looked more rat-like, with a long pointy nose, black eyes, and a small body with skinny legs and long tail. Parents wrote in expressing concern over Mickey's behavior in the cartoons, complaining that Mickey was no role model for children. Disney canceled the Mickey Mouse Club meetings in 1935. In the 1950s, the U.S. government made fake towns and filled them with mannequins for the purpose of developing and demonstrating atomic weapons. These tests were part of the Cold War arms races and had significant environmental and health impacts, including radiation exposure for nearby populations and long-term contamination. Pictured here is what has been captured by a Google streetcar in France. Not much is verified of the image. Just speculation that it is a life-size doll used as a balcony decoration. Nara Dreamland was a theme park near Nara, Japan, which was built in 1961 and inspired by Disneyland in California. On August 31st, 2006, Nara Dreamland closed permanently due to low visitation numbers, possibly due to the growing popularity of the Tokyo Disney Resort. The park has been abandoned ever since. The child photographed here was in a specialized school for backward and psychologically upset children in Warsaw back in 1948. The children were tasked to draw their homes, and this is what she came up with. David Seymour snapped this photo, and it gained tons of attention for decades, especially since no one knew who she was at the time. However, in 2017, Time published Unraveling a 70-year-old Photographic Mystery, where researchers tracked down her family who gave insight into her life. Her name was Teresa Adwentowska. During the bombing of Warsaw, Teresa's home was destroyed, and she was struck by a piece of shrapnel that left her brain damaged. Teresa, only 4 at the time, and her sister fled on foot and spent 3 weeks trying to make it to a village about 40 miles away. This took a toll on her and was sent to a mental institution during 1954 for a year. As a teen, she developed an addiction to alcohol and cigarettes and became violent towards her younger brother. Since the mid-60s, she was living in another institution called the Torquay Mental Asylum. There she would die after accidentally choking on a piece of food she stole from another patient. Depicted here is children running, screaming, fearing for their life as they tear off their burning clothes, desperately searching for safety. This would be a result of a southern Vietnam plane accidentally dropping its flaming napalm on South Vietnamese troops and innocents. It was discovered that the one shown in the iconic photo would be Kim Phuc, the woman who lived to tell the tale. Kim became more than just a victim of a South Vietnamese war, but an international symbol of how unpopular the war was, and a warning of the torments inflicted on innocents in all wars to follow. A bus teeters over the edge in the North Yungas, traveling down the Road of Death, found in Bolivia, South America. The road is 43 miles long and is a maximum of 10 feet wide with a 2,000-foot drop. There were 300 deaths each year until 1994, when some improvements were made. People who travel this road experience both the cold conditions in the Altiplano highlands as well as the uncomfortable, warm, humid conditions in the rainforest below. One of Bolivia's most tragic road accidents happened on July 24th, 1983, when an overcrowded bus veered off the side of the road and into a canyon, killing more than 100 passengers. Extreme selfies and rooftopper Wu Yongning. For these individuals, a fear of heights does not apply. Social media has enabled these daredevils to share their life-risking stunts with millions of people across the world. An accident waiting to happen, and it finally did. For Wu, the unfortunate incident where he would fall and meet his end took place at the 62-story Huaiyuan Hua Center, one of the tallest buildings in Changsha. Wu's family told the local newspaper he had worked as a film extra, and that in dangling himself from the building for a video, he hoped that it would earn as much as $15,000 if it went viral, the money he would have used to get married and pay his mother's medical bills. This picture has been shrouded in mystery for years. The story goes that in the mid-1950s, the Cooper family had just moved into an old house and decided to preserve the moment by taking a picture of the whole family, but later find a ghostly figure hanging upside down from the ceiling. Some would speculate it was a person falling through the ceiling that got caught on camera. However, the true story is, the creator of the image would be one of the children in the photo. They explained that they took the original photo and projected it on the wall upside down, with him posing in the corner dressed in white. Many years later, he would upload to his own website along with other photos of this nature, eventually with this photo going viral.
What the hell's going on there? Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Billy. That hurt.
Back when the Empire State Building was being built, they didn't exactly have a lot of safety regulations. It is recorded that 5 workers died during construction, involving falls from scaffolds, being struck by objects like trucks or hoists, and falling down an elevator shaft. This heart-wrenching picture shows the haunting imprints of people killed by the Little Man, dropped on Hiroshima by the U.S. Air Forces on August 6, 1945. These eerie shadows were scorched into the city by the blinding lights of the atomic bomb as it detonated. The tongue-eating louse, or Cymathoa exigua, is a parasitic isopod that enters a fish's gills and replaces the fish's tongue with its own body. The parasites first mature into males, then later one would switch at will to become a female. The male attaches to the gill arches beneath and behind the female for mating. The female then attaches to the fish's tongue, severing and draining the blood vessels, causing the tongue to wither and fall off. It will then position itself at the stub of what was once the tongue, melding to it, becoming the fish's new tongue, feeding on blood and mucus. The parasite apparently does not cause much other damage to the host fish, although they have been reported to be underweight if infected by 2 or more isopods. In 2012, doctors removed a huge tumor from Vietnamese man Nguyen Duy Hai's body that was described as being twice his weight. The massive, non-cancerous tumor on his right leg started growing when he was 4 years old, eventually reached 198 pounds or 90 kilograms, and significantly impacted his mobility and quality of life. It was said the man was suffering from von Recklinghausen's neurofibromatosis. A cow with two heads is a rare phenomenon, often referred to as polycephaly, where an animal is born with two heads. This condition is similar to conjoined twins in humans. The condition arises during the development of identical twin embryos, where the split is incomplete. The occurrence of polycephaly in cattle is rare, with some sources estimating it to be as rare as 1 in 400 million births. Two-headed calves often face challenges in survival and development, and many do not live long. The evolution of Misty Lohman. She suffered from lupus, bone cancer, and scleroderma, then turned to drugs after the tragic loss of 3 of her children. Misty has embarked on a remarkable journey of recovery and has been sober since 2020. She openly shares updates about her life and progress on social media, showcasing her commitment to sobriety.
Life is hard. You're going to have tough times and things are going to happen. It's out of the ordinary, but it's all in God's plan and God's purpose in the end. And I can see now everything had to happen in order for me to be the person I am today. And, I've grown so much.
Feeding mainly on bony fishes, the viper dogfish captures prey by protruding its jaws and impaling them with its teeth. Its impressive gape allows it to swallow relatively large fish whole. The skeletal and muscular structure of its head shows unique features that support this feeding mechanism, which is unlike that of other dogfish sharks. Felicity Cadleck, a 25-year-old young woman, shares her life with 2 zombie dolls. After becoming romantically involved with Kelly Rossi, one of the dolls, Felicity then married Robert. Together they form a polyamorous trio and raise a large family of 10 zombie doll children. Their family is preparing to welcome an 11th member.
Robert and Kelly are both my partners, and these are our children.
These are X-rays from Border Patrol. Your skin is actively blistering and burning off. There are hot fumes mixing with the barely breathable air. If you have to go to the bathroom, there is nowhere to go but where you are. You are locked in there for hours at a time. Once you run out of sweat, you die of heat stroke. Not everyone you travel with will survive. The triggerfish, or as some on the internet has dubbed, the fishlight, has an eerily similar mouth akin to a human's. They use these teeth to prey on reef invertebrates and algae. Many triggerfish are known for their territorial behavior and willingness to defend their space, biting intruders. Some species of triggerfish are deemed safe for consumption. Would you take a bite out of those lips? Wasps build a nest around a discarded child's doll. Now to find the discarded child. Snapdragons may look bright and cheerful when blooming, but once they dry out, they reveal a much darker side. Their shriveled seed pods eerily resemble tiny human skulls, complete with hollow eye sockets and gaping jaws. In folklore, these spooky little skulls were thought to ward off evil spirits and curses, making snapdragons both a garden beauty and a natural charm against bad luck. In the Badawadi village of India, most women are risking their lives to get water from the giant well, 60 feet deep. The region has been experiencing severe water problems in recent years, and the government officials have failed to address the crisis. Stone man disease, scientifically known as fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva, or FOP for short, is a genetic disorder in which body muscles, ligament, and tendons gradually transform into bone. This ceases body movement. Sometimes the jaw gets locked and shut due to ossification or calcification of jaw muscles. Muscles, essential for breathing, may also transform to bone, resulting in suffocation. Shown here is the result of a tradition of cutting fingers in the Dani tribe of Papua, Indonesia. This is done as a process of mourning when a loved one or close family member dies. According to tribal Dani people, there is no better way to express loss than to do this tradition. Although it's typically performed on the women of the tribe, men can also participate. Maybe in this instance, it's better to be an introvert. In 1939, Lena Medina, a girl just under 6 years old, was one of 9 children. Her parents feared that the growing bulge in her abdomen was a tumor, but it turned out to be something far more startling. Doctors would claim that this young girl would be pregnant, making her the youngest mother recorded in history. In the hospital of Lima, Peru, where she had given birth, it is said she thrust away her son, asking for someone to take that thing away. I want my doll. Doctors attending History's youngest mother says she is too young to possess mother love, and that it will be at least another 6 years before she takes pride in her son. Lena's parents had been inundated with offers from American promoters who want to show their daughter and her baby to the public. The father wouldn't be identified. As she grew older, Medina repeatedly rejected interview requests. She later worked as a secretary for Lozada, who had delivered her baby. She eventually married and welcomed a second child in 1972. Sadly, her first child died at age 40 from bone cancer. This is a picture of a 93-year-old demented man, Robert Thomas, who calmly shot his apartment manager in each leg over a maintenance issue. One bullet went astray and struck a computer monitor. Police arrived and shot at Thomas, but did not hit him. Thomas put his weapon down and was overpowered and arrested. I didn't want to hurt the guy. I just wanted to screw him up a little, Thomas explains.
I didn't want to hurt you guys. Okay. I just wanted to screw him up a little.
The face in the roots, an amazing natural oddity of a big tree root growing and covering the ruin of Taprom Temple. The palace of ancient Angkor Thom is found in Siem Reap, Cambodia. Internet sources claim the image seen here is a wedding photo on Miyakojima Island, hosting an active volcano in the Izu Islands. It is known for being one of the highest concentrations of poisonous gases in the world. After a series of eruptions in 2000, these levels became so high that mass evacuations were instituted and flights were canceled over the area for many years. In 2005, the residents of the island were allowed to return to their homes. Sources say they were required to carry and use such gas masks even at ordinary events such as a wedding. However, after the image appeared on a CD cover by Swedish grindcore band Nasum, it sparked much more skepticism about the origin story of this photo. One of the band members was kind enough to say he got the image from a friend, which that friend discovered from the United Nations Environment Program. It was in an image archived from events held in the 1990s, with the title Focus on Your World. The description of the photo reads, Russian couple protest against pollution by wearing chemical masks during wedding ceremony. Photo by Anatoly Zhdanov. Anatoly was a reporter for the newspaper The Soviet Army in the group of Soviet forces in Germany and was critical of environmental pollution, especially in the context of war. This picture was taken by the crew of a ship who saw this 11-year-old girl floating on a disintegrating life raft. Later identified as Terry Jo Dupereau, she would be the sole survivor of the Bluebell. Her whole family was slain on the sailboat by their hired captain, Julian Harvey, who left her to drown with the sinking boat. Terry Jo miraculously untied a life float, launching herself just as the ship sank. She drifted for 4 days, no water, no food, and being burned by the sun. Upon hearing that she had survived, the captain took his own life. This eerie image of chalk drawings of the child's game hopscotch suggests one would play until jumping into danger. But in reality, it is meant to be a fun way for people to jump into their next destination. This location can be found in Berlin, Germany. Fannie Mills, also known as the Ohio Bigfoot Girl, suffered from Milroy disease. Though she was just 115 pounds, her feet stretched 19 inches long and 7 inches wide. She wore pillowcases as socks and the skin of 3 goats as shoes. Maxine Mina was born in the Philippines around 1896 with a parasitic twin and worked as a sideshow performer after 1910. She first appeared in shows when she was a mere toddler under the care of her father. She was the youngest of a family of 5 children. She was featured in postcards and promotional material with slogans like, "The only 4-legged girl alive," and "Filipina with 4 legs." They were exhibited in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and Coney Island. According to Rear Admiral G.W. Baird, who saw her on exhibition, says she still had some control of her extra legs, and usually performed without clothes to show them off. The only clothes she ever wore was either a shirt or a dress. The extra limbs made it impossible for her to wear anything below her waist. Information after her debut in the United States is extremely limited. Joseph Carey Merrick, known as the Elephant Man, was born on August 5th, 1862, in Leicester, England. Although he appeared healthy at birth, he later developed severe physical deformities caused by a rare condition now believed to be Proteus syndrome. As his body changed, he faced extreme hardship in Victorian society, which offered little understanding or support for people with disabilities. Unable to find regular work, Merrick was eventually exhibited in freak shows as a way to survive, a situation he found deeply distressing. Despite this, Merrick was intelligent, gentle, and sensitive, with a love for reading and poetry. Merrick's life changed when he met Dr. Frederick Trevis, who helped secure him a permanent home at the London hospital. There, Merrick lived his final years with dignity and kindness from those around him. He died in 1890 at the age of 27 after attempting to sleep lying down. Today, Joseph Merrick is remembered through cinema, not for his deformities, but as a symbol of compassion, resilience, and the importance of seeing the person beyond their appearance. Grady Franklin Stiles Jr. was born June 18, 1937 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He was born with ectrodactyly, a rare genetic condition that caused his hands and feet to resemble lobster claws. Grady came from a long line of sideshow performers and worked in carnivals and freak shows from childhood. Behind the scenes, Grady was known for being violent and abusive, especially toward his family. In 1978, he ended the life of his daughter's fiancé, but avoided prison due to accessibility issues. In 1992, Grady was taken out by a hitman hired by his own wife and stepson. His life remains one of the darkest and most disturbing stories in sideshow history. Pink see-through Fantasia, an incredible sea cucumber-like creature that was only recently discovered. It can be found in the Celebes Sea, 2,500 meters below the surface. Its transparent skin makes it possible for its mouth and even intestines to be seen, allowing scientists to observe its digestive system in action. If there are aliens on Earth, look no further than the ocean for such Lovecraftian life forms. The marine hatchetfish, getting their name for their paper-thin, silver bodies shaped like a blade, drifting in total darkness. Their glowing bellies act like built-in invisibility cloaks, erasing their shadow from predators lurking below. With oversized, unblinking eyes, they scan the faintest traces of light, watching silhouettes of prey far above. Some species even launch themselves upward in sudden, explosive attacks, then vanish back into the black. The Kedarnath tragedy occurred in June 2013, when sudden cloudbursts and massive flooding struck Uttarakhand, India, turning a holy pilgrimage into a disaster. Torrential rains caused rivers and glaciers to overflow, unleashing deadly landslides and debris that swept away entire villages, roads, and thousands of people. Over 5,000 lives were lost, making it one of India's worst natural disasters. The ancient Kedarnath temple survived, standing almost untouched amid total destruction, which many still find both eerie and miraculous. Here is the eerie sight of Polish serial killer Bogdan Arnold reenacting his murders for authorities, not too long before facing his execution. He ended the lives of 4 women, often luring them to his flat, where he tortured and hid their bodies in his apartment. He was nicknamed the Lord of Flies because neighbors noticed swarms of insects and a foul smell that eventually led police to discover the victims. If you search this image online, you may hear the story of Arnie Sanders, a New Yorker who was committed after telling his priest he saw angels and demons fight on the subway, then sent to the Rockland Mental Hospital shortly after. The true origin is more simple. It would actually be credited to Russian actor Alexei Petrenko for playing Rasputin in the historical drama Agony. Photographed is Patty Hirahara, one of 10 finalists in the Miss Baby Curl pageant of 1960 in Hollywood, California. Patty was posing with Chuko the Birthday Clown, a beloved Los Angeles TV personality in the 1950s and 60s, famous for hosting birthday parties on live TV. This cursed image and its origins have been a spectacle on the internet for ages. However, thanks to a Reddit user, we may be closer to the source. They go on by saying, "I noticed this on the wall in the children's ward of an English hospital under the heading, 'Celebrities Who've Visited Us.' I found it both hilarious and horrifying. I suspect this was taken in Great Ormond Street Hospital, a famous children's hospital in the neighboring borough of Camden. Teletubbies was first broadcast in March 1997 and was nationally popular not long afterwards. So my guess is this was probably from around 1998. The local Camden New Journal will likely have reported on it at the time and may have archives." Bozo the Clown, sometimes headlined as Bozo, the World's Most Famous Clown, is a character created for children's entertainment. Introduced in the United States in 1946, he would soon appear in franchise television programs, of which he was the host, and portrayed by numerous local performers. However, in the 80s, Bozo started appearing less and less in media mainstream. Local children's TV shows died off, and cable networks replaced them with cartoons. Clowns started feeling less fun and more unsettling. As seen in Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, the Fisk coffin came from the mid-19th century with its airtight seal and metal construction. A common misconception was that the design was to prevent decay. However, it only hid it. No amount of airtight sealing will prevent decomposition. In fact, it allowed for constant buildup of pressure from the gases and fluids oozing from within. At times, the coffins exploded before a funeral took place. This old and mysterious photograph of a creepy young girl was thought to be a fake. After some digging, however, it is on record as being a photograph of a Miss Mary McCandlish in Scotland during the 1840s. Source: The Art Gallery of NSW. Back in the 1920s, some department stores used wax mannequins. However, due to multiple heat waves, they would sometimes create some unsettling effects. When electricity first crept into daily life, it arrived trailing a cloud of suspicion that now feels almost folkloric. Late 19th and early 20th century anti-electricity propaganda warned that invisible currents would scramble the brain, drain moral virtue, or quietly end the lives of sleepers in their beds. Newspapers ran cartoons of homes bursting into flames from a single wire, while pamphlets insisted electric lights were unnatural suns that weakened the eyes and corrupted the nervous system. Some critics framed electricity as a social menace, claiming it would destroy craftsmanship, encourage laziness, or allow sinister corporations to control private life through the walls themselves. Here is a full-faced swimming mask designed to protect women's skin from the sun in the 1920s. In modern day, Chinese beachgoers are bringing it back, dubbing it a face kini, complete with a bodysuit. Would you wear this to the beach? The picnic bear, It Drinks toy, originates from Japan in the 1950s, manufactured by the toy company Alps Schoten. It was a battery-operated tin bear with a mechanical arm that lifts a drink to its mouth, often alongside companion toys, like a panda, and sometimes associated with Pepsi or Coca-Cola branding. However, to many it looks more like a creepy alcoholic bear. What at first glance looks like an emaciated child getting blasted with a power washer is actually just a crucifix cleaning in front of the Munich church. Photograph was dubbed Cleaning Jesus, taken in 1939 by German photographer Peter Keatman. This is a reproduction of a 17th century insanity mask. These artifacts reflect the historical misunderstanding and stigma surrounding mental health during the early modern period. The masks were used to restrain individuals deemed insane. They were typically crafted from metal or leather and intended to conceal the individual's condition. The exaggerated features were dehumanizing and reinforced harmful stereotypes about mental illness. Pictured here is 22-year-old Charlie Johns reading the Bible to his 9-year-old bride, Eunice Winstead. They married in 1937 and went on to have 9 children together, their first being when Eunice was 15. Many people were disturbed over the marriage, and the state of Tennessee raised the age to marry to 16. By the time Eunice was 32, an article later came out interviewing Eunice, in which she'd state that it's best to wait for marriage and that she recommends no earlier than 21. stating that her 17-year-old daughter was too young for her 20-year-old boyfriend. Pictured here is the procedure of removing freckles, dated back to the 1930s using a skin peel, also known as freezing freckles off with carbon dioxide. Patients' eyes were covered with airtight plugs, and their nostrils filled in for their protection as they had to breathe through a tube. Now some people pay money to tattoo freckles on their faces. In the 1950s at San Marcos' famously bizarre Aquarina Springs, audiences gathered to watch underwater ballerinas, a swimming pig, and Glurpo, the world's first underwater clown. At the time, clowns weren't yet nightmare fuel, and kids loved him. Glurpo even became popular enough to appear on television and jokingly run for political office. But as tastes changed, eventually the entire underwater show disappeared. Today, Aquarina Springs is a research center. Glurpo survives only in archival photos and internet oddities. To think there was a time when America was completely comfortable inventing a smiling clown that silently lurks beneath the water and entertains children. This unsettling photo taken in 1948 shows 107-year-old Jack Riddle and his wife Rosie receiving a radio from Klan members as a gift. One of the members is dressed as Santa Claus in what appears to be a staged act of charity for publicity and was later published in newspapers. Nanda Gallant, only 9 years old according to public records, was a worker at a seafood canning company in Maine. Despite grueling work hours, she was described as a spoiled child. Child laborers Nan's age were not unusual. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, no less than 18% of all children ages 10 to 15 worked from 1890 to 1910. What may appear to be an odd picture is perhaps another day in the life of singer Inger Jacobsen and her husband, Jackie Hein Bulow Janssen. Jacobsen was a popular singer in her native country Norway, even representing her country in the Eurovision competition in 1962. Her husband, a native of Denmark, performed as a ventriloquist. During the mid-20th century, ventriloquism was especially popular in radio entertainment. Purportedly, 400 full-time ventriloquists worked in the UK during the 1950s and 60s alone. This image captures a mother and her baby wearing gas masks during a demonstration in England around 1941 in preparation for potential gas attacks during World War II. The mother is wearing a standard civilian respirator, while the baby is inside a special anti-gas protective helmet, sometimes called simply the baby helmet. The image is a black and white photograph often used to illustrate the psychological concept of the uncanny. The term uncanny was notably explored by Sigmund Freud in his 1919 essay. Freud described the sensation as an unsettling feeling that occurs when something familiar becomes unfamiliar, causing doubt as to whether an object is alive or not. Dolls, especially damaged or lifelike ones, are classic examples of objects that can evoke this feeling, as they can blur the boundary between inanimate objects and living beings. Here is the female Omothymus spider spotted in Malaysia. It is also known as the Malaysian earth tiger tarantula. Would you pet this 8-legged tree dog? Seen here is a salesman's collection of antique prosthetic glass eyes from the 1900s. The kit contains numerous eyes with varying iris colors, shapes, and sizes to match a patient's existing eye. Do you get the feeling of being watched? Guaraná is a strange, eye-catching fruit native to the Amazon in Brazil, best known for its Lovecraftian appearance when it ripens. The red skin splits open to reveal a white interior with a dark seed, uncannily resembling a staring human eyeball. The fruit itself has been used for centuries by indigenous peoples as a stimulant and medicine. Guaraná seeds contain more caffeine than coffee beans, which is why the plant became the basis for Brazil's popular Guaraná sodas and energy drinks. Shown here is a frightened German girl from the 1930s posing with a man dressed as a polar bear. A strange and haunting photographic phenomenon from 20th century Germany led thousands of ordinary people to pose with various forms of the white bear, some more unsettling than others. preserved over decades up to the 1960s by French archivist Jean-Marie Donat. These images document the polar bear as a surreal witness to German history, as it drifts from leisure to militarism to post-war normalcy. The photos reveal how the everyday past can feel deeply uncanny, reminding us that history isn't just documented through grand events, but through moments both bizarre and mundane. Candy was a short-lived British comic strip created in the early 1970s by Jerry Anderson, best known for Thunderbirds. It was supposed to be a live-action TV series that never materialized. Candy was a resourceful teenage girl, caught up in glamorous adventures involving spies, crime, and high fashion. Despite stylish artwork and clear TV ambitions, the planned series stalled, leaving Candy as a curious footnote in Anderson's career, which has since gathered attention for its uncanny aesthetic. This strange-looking creature is the blackmouth cat shark, a deep-sea shark found in the eastern Atlantic and Mediterranean, hundreds of meters below the surface. It gets its name from the dark interior of its mouth, a feature that may help camouflage it while feeding on crustaceans, squid, and small fish. When hauled up from deep water, its skin can tear easily, and its eyes bulge from pressure change. This nightmare fuel of a photo is a hermit crab that made its home in the head of a baby doll. These crabs will often use whatever they can get their hands on if shells aren't readily available. Sadly, this means sometimes they resort to nearby trash. Meet the Penicillidia, tiny, spider-like creatures that spend their entire lives mostly harassing bats. They use their hooked legs and comb-like claws to lock into a bat's fur and skin, feeding on blood and rarely, if ever, letting go. This is a penguin. To its prey, this will be the last thing they ever see. Mr. Nosybonk is a famously unsettling British children's TV character from the early 1970s, appearing on Jigsaw, a light-hearted educational show. However, nothing about him felt light-hearted. He wore a bald, flesh-toned mask with an enormous pointed nose, tiny eye holes, and a frozen, toothless grin. He never spoke, only silently creeping into scenes while jaunty music played. There's no deep official lore or supernatural backstory, which almost makes him creepier. For decades, the Easter Bunny has been marketed as a soft, springtime friend, but photo evidence tells a different story. Kids have long been doomed to sit on the laps of a towering stranger in a giant rabbit suit. The unsettling and unblinking eyes, frozen grin, and ears that never quite sit right. The Easter Bunny would be a source of trauma to these children for years to come. Nagoro, Japan, a village that once had a strong population but has since declined sharply. Today, more than 300 life-size scarecrows fill the village, all made by a local artist named Tsukimi Ayano. Each scarecrow is built to resemble former villagers or fictional characters. They are placed in everyday scenes, such as tending gardens, fishing by the river, or waiting at a bus stop. Google Street View sometimes mistakes them for living people and automatically blurs them. Nagoro is now known as the Scarecrow Village and draws visitors interested in seeing the handmade figures. Even the village's closed school is now populated by scarecrow students, standing in classrooms once filled with real children. To some, the figures create an unnerving atmosphere, making it feel like a ghost town frozen in time. Here is the SMD Shore Residences, located in the Philippines. The vast number of units and emptiness makes it feel like a strangely liminal space. Bislett Stadium in Norway, also getting attention for its liminal spaces. For some, due to its lack of windows and a minimal and monotonous path, running here invokes almost an eerie and dreaded claustrophobic feeling. This is the Heathrow Airport Terminal 4's Holiday Inn, also known as Liminal Inn. This strange location has an inaccessible courtyard, which purpose seems only to discomfort visitors with its uncanny existence. In 2007, users of Google Earth noticed a strange sight in Iraq. Near Baghdad, a lake appeared blood red from above. Many theories circulated about the cause. Some blamed pollution from nearby factories. Others suggested the lake was contaminated with blood from slaughterhouses. However, scientists pointed out that certain types of algae or bacteria can bloom and turn water red. Similar events have been recorded in places like Iran. Over time, the lake returned to its normal color. The exact cause of the red appearance was never officially confirmed, but the biological explanation remains the most likely. This uncanny coral, named the brain coral, can live up to 900 years. Brain coral stands out because of its intricate brain-like patterns that weave across the surface. That's because, unlike in other coral species, the polyps join rather than stand alone, sharing food and nutrients with others in its colony. If you explore Google Maps around Tokyo, you might come across a group of people wearing realistic pigeon masks. They appear to follow the Google Street View car, posing in ways that catch viewers off guard. These pigeon people are believed to be a prank by students from a nearby art school known for its creative projects. In Japanese folklore, pigeons are often seen as symbols of luck and adaptability. The world truly is a mysterious place.